So you want to know, is Seaside any good? Well, let's jump into how you play and then I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. And just know it was provided to me by the distributor for the review. Now, how do you play? Well, the game is very simple. You're going to be reaching into this bag a lot and pulling out a token. There's 7 different things and all of the tokens are double-sided, so you always get a little bit of a choice. If it's blue, you can put it into the middle, so there's shells, bugs, and there's also crabs. They can all be put into the sea because they're the blue side, and that means you go again. You're simply going to dip your hand back into the bag and pull something else out. Now, if you instead choose one of the white sides, that's normally going to be getting you some kind of scoring thing, and that's hopefully points at the end. It also means your turn's going to be almost certainly over, and we'll come on to the waves last. First of all, the birds. Well, when you take one of these, it goes and sits in front of you. It's going to be effectively a scoring tile for the end of the game, but also every single bug that's in the middle, it's going to swoop down and grab them. The twist, though, is every time you take another bird in the future, only your biggest bird stays with you. So the one that's got more stuff, more bugs underneath it. If you perfectly manage to get the same number of bugs again, they do both stay though. If instead when you pull this rock out of the bag you choose to take it and you can't sort of turn the blue side and put it into the middle, well, every second rock, so every even rock, you're going to take all the crabs from the middle and you're going to steal one for good measure from one other player around the table if you can. Every odd one, or like the first one you take, the third one you take, that sort of thing, these rocks do nothing. So you've really got to sort of hope that you will get a second rock later on. Next up from the bag, you might be able to pull this one, which is a beach one. Well, if you pull this, it depends how many beaches you've already got. The first time you take a beach, you can take 1 shell from the middle. The second time you take a beach, and you've got 2 in front of you, 2 shells. Third one comes out the bag, 3 shells, and so on. So you can get more of them as the game goes on if you've prioritised them throughout. And last but not least from the bag, you might pull a wave. Now this is the sort of unique one that stumps people just for the first time it happens. Waves don't do anything scoring wise straight away. In fact, they only score you potentially at the end of the game. Whoever's got the most waves will take all tokens remaining in the middle. Well, you could even split that potentially with someone else. Say you've got 3, they've got 3 and that's the most. You'll split them as evenly as possible. But otherwise, that's how it's getting you tokens. But when you take it, it instantly flips one of your beaches if you have one. That might mean it flips it into a blue, so you have to put it back into the middle. And then you have another turn. So it's a little bit different, but it just makes you choose when you actually want to take this. And often I find if you're going for the beaches, you don't want to be taking too many waves. So it gives you a bit of a choice to make there. So that's how all of the actual tokens and their abilities work, and just know that sometimes you can pull something out and both sides are blue. So you're definitely going again, but what are you putting into the sea in the middle? Some are also white on both sides, but are you going to try and score birds, or are you going to try and score, like, take the rocks to maybe score crabs later on, that sort of thing? So sometimes pushing your luck by keep taking from the bag is interrupted by getting something where you definitely have to score something, and then the choice is left up to you. You go until the bag is empty, and at that point you stack up all of your chips and see who's won. But of course, remember, whoever's got the most waves is grabbing those things that are left in the middle, and that can be enough to swing victory. So that's how you play. So let's go over the pros and cons, and we'll start with actually probably the biggest con that I have about the game, and that's the first play. The first few rounds of that first play, no one's really quite sure how every token is working. And I would put this akin to one of my favourite games, Love Letter. The first time you play that, there's a lot of cards and they all do something slightly different. And in this, there's 7 different potential abilities to trigger, and you're not quite sure how all of it works. Well, that means it's a little awkward when you're teaching the game to brand new players, that it's not really complicated, it's just it sounds like a lot's going on. As soon as you've played like a couple of goes round the table, everyone's seen that all like easily 6 out of the 7 powers, and then everyone starts to know how it goes on. So it's really good if you've played before, you take that first turn and just be like, look, I'm gonna, because normally you look at your token and then choose what you're doing with it. Do it open for that first couple of rounds. You can talk through what you're doing, but you can also help people on their turn. So you pull something out the bag and be like, right, on this side it's this blue, on this side it's this white. Well, I'm not taking the white yet because it won't score me anything, so I'm going to put the blue into the middle and go again. And just talk through it like that, and it just goes down super well like that. But it's a con because it's just a small hurdle to get over in that first playthrough. One thing that games like this really rely on for that first experience are these sort of reminder sheets. And as you can sort of see, because it's stored in that bag and not a box, this does get a bit bent and a bit bished. And there's also one of these. There's one on the back of the rulebook, and then there's this one. And well, you can play with up to 4 players. So why aren't there 4 of these included? Well, probably because they'll all get bished and mangled like this sort of over time. And it just feels like that's the only part of the production that's maybe letting the game down a bit. The game obviously revolves around putting your hand in that bag a lot and pulling out a nice wooden sort of token thing. They're really nice. There's no way getting around it. It feels really satisfying putting your hand in that drawstring bag. It feels like it's going to survive for quite a while. You can rattle those wooden chips around. It's a really nice sort of feeling. It feels good. You're taking those round tokens. You can flip them over. They've nice graphically, like they're really obvious what is what, like, oh, this is a crab, oh, this is a rock which does something to do with a crab. That sort of stuff, like, it all works production wise and it just feels really nice. So a massive pro there. And then it's all about the speed of pulling stuff from that bag. You are literally putting your hand in, rummaging around, pulling something out and making a choice between 2 things. I made the link to Love Letter, and it's like that game where you have 2 cards and you play one or the other of them. On this, you've got 1 token and you're choosing which side. So it doesn't always matter. There's 7 abilities in the game, or 7 things that you could be pulling out. You're only going to be choosing between 2 of them. And sometimes you don't have that much of a choice in terms of, well, it's blue on both sides, but which do I want in the middle? I've already got 1 rock. Well, maybe if I put a crab into the middle, maybe on my next pull, I will get that second rock and be able to take all the crabs from the middle. So you can sort of push your luck, build up what you want in that middle, but you're having to rely on what's coming out that bag. But because it's only a choice between 2 things, it's super quick on your turn, and then you're passing that bag on to the next player, and it just zooms around the table. I alluded to it when I was talking about how the game works, but the scoring is just perfect. You stack your stuff up, slide them into the middle, and see whose stack is tallest. There's no, oh, these are worth 1 point unless I've got this. There's no, calculation needing to be done. It's over in seconds, as long as you can balance some chips on top of each other. You're just sliding them in and seeing who's got the tallest pile. It's that super quick and simple scoring that just means after you've played this fun experience, it's not dragged down by like, oh, now we've got to get a pencil and pad out. No, the quick experience is helped by a quick scoring as well, which means often you've done that and then you can just pick the piles up, drop them back in the bag and go again. And, well, I think this is going to be a game you're going to want to play again and again. Not only when you sit down to play it, that you're not going to just play 1 round, you're going to want to play again as soon as you've finished. I think you're going to get this one off the shelf when you've got those short periods of time with some players and you just want to have some quick fun. You don't have to think about it too much. You don't have to worry necessarily about the components. They're not bendable cards. Apart from that cheat sheet, the rest is chunky wooden chips that you're playing with. They're nice and chunky, so you can be having a drink while playing, you can be chatting and wait for that bag to come round and see what's in the middle, push your luck a little bit, and have a lot of good fun throughout. I really think the amount of powers is just the right amount to keep you coming back, even though that first little game has that bit of awkwardness as you're learning what the 7 things do. But after that, I think everyone that I've played with has certainly enjoyed Seaside, and I really have too. Hopefully this has helped you know if Seaside is going to be a game for you or not. Let me know in the comment section below if you've played it or if you're going to be playing it thanks to this review. And until next time, have a wonderful day at the Seaside Gaming.